Commissioner Baker McCormick has requested a temporary excuse. Commissioner Marecki?
Here.
Commissioner Clementi?
Present.
Commissioner Anderson?
Present.
Vice Chair Baydoun is excused. Chair Kinlock?
Present.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Item B, Chair's remarks.
I have none at this time. Next item.
Item C, approval of the minutes from the March 2024 meeting.
A motion is in order. It's been moved, supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye and vote on your tablets. Aye.
Motion carries.
Let the record reflect, Madam Clerk, that Commissioner Baker McCormick has joined us.
Duly noted.
Next item.
Item D, unfinished business. There is none listed. Moving to item E1 under new business. Item 1, requesting commission approval of a resolution authorizing the Charter County of Wayne's delinquent tax revolving fund borrowings from 2024 based on 2023 delinquent taxes.
Who's here to speak to this item?
Good afternoon. My name is Carl Stafford, Director of Special Projects, Wayne County Treasurer's Office. Before you is the annual resolution authorizing the issuance up to $195 million of delinquent tax notes. By way of background, under Michigan law, the local taxing communities turn over their delinquent taxes to the Wayne County Treasurer for collection. In order to provide cash flow to the local communities and taxing jurisdictions, we issue these notes, and they will receive funds by the end of June of this year after we issue the notes. The county treasurer takes a very conservative approach on issuing the notes. We do not borrow against the entire amount of delinquent taxes turned over for collection. For instance, last year, we received over $204 million of delinquent taxes. And the note issuance was not, $200 million. It was like $160 million last year. We exclude from those receivables taxes that are subject to a 5-year payment plan, parcels that are subject to bankruptcy and likely foreclosure. So we exclude that from our note issuance so that we have a very strong revenue stream. The notes are structured to mature in 30 months. In the last 2 years, those notes were paid off 8 months early. So the 2021 notes were paid off in April of 2023, and the 2022 notes will be paid off on April 1st of next month. So we have a very strong revenue stream, and the risk to the full faith and credit of the county is very minimal. Any questions?
Okay, I'd like to ask any commissioner or any member, do you have any questions? I know that this has nothing, I guess, directly to deal with this, but I'm not sure if you can even answer this. But last week, the Detroit City Council had passed a resolution, basically, I guess, addressing a report that came out regarding the assessment of city properties. And they passed a resolution, calling for steps to be taken towards dealing with the overvaluation of the Detroit properties. And just want to know, has any of that discussion taken place in the treasurer's office associated with that resolution?
No, there hasn't been any discussion as far as I know regarding that. That's really not an issue for the Wayne County Treasurer. Whatever taxes that are deemed delinquent, those are turned over to the county treasurer for collection.
Mhm.
So we don't have any input with respect to property assessments and valuation.
Okay, so definitely want to talk, have more conversations as it relates to that, because I've gotten a number of calls in my office. I guess they calls of, calling on the treasurer to not foreclose properties. And so just wanted to see whether or not there's any conversations taking place in the treasurer's office. So I'll follow up with the treasurer
Okay.
regarding that. Yeah. But thank you for your attendance this morning. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the removal of the amounts for 5-year, you said a 5-year plan.
Right.
Anyone that has that in place, what amount is that, I guess, that I'm asking?
All right.
you know
correct.
at
Yeah,
all?
well, I can give you some figures.
Okay.
Based, last year, from the $204 million of delinquent taxes, 7 million of that comprised of parcels subject to the 5-year payment plan.
Okay, great.
And so the parcels that we exclude from the borrowing,
Mhm.
as we collect taxes, then we just turn them over, we pay it over to the local taxing jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We will be taking all of these items at under one motion. Next item on the agenda.
Ooh.
Item number 2, requesting commissioner approval of the parks carryover projects from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024.
Okay, who's here to speak to this item, Ms. Bradford?
Good afternoon, Commissioner Kinlock, Commissioners. Alicia Bradford, Department of Public Services, Parks Division Director. Item number 2 is the request to carry forward our capital improvement projects, which includes the projects for the communities that the commissioners allocate their park millage funding, as well as Wayne County projects as well. So this is to allow us to continue those projects, to be able to provide the reimbursements to the communities once they complete their projects and submitted all supporting documentation, then we would be able to reimburse based on their park millage allocation for the previous fiscal year.
And so far, have all the communities submitted the necessary paperwork?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Everyone has submitted their projects. The majority of them all have their intergovernmental agreements, and they have 2 years to complete their projects. And again, this is from 23-24 capturing, 22-23 as well. So that is what is in the carry forward portion of this request. And again, it will allow us to do those reimbursements and to complete the projects that have been approved on our capital improvement plan.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Goodman, speak it, your mic on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you just repeat those dates again? It's from when to when? to when
Yes,
to
through
when?
the chair, Commissioner Clemente, it is for fiscal year 22-23 to be able to carry forward into the 23-24 fiscal year.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a little bit off, but we are off the subject. We received 10 million for parks under the American Rescue Plan dollars. Do you recall that? Yeah.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Baker McCormick, we have $10 million to the American Rescue Plan Initiative, but that is not in the carry forward portion. That is in a separate funding
Okay.
line account that is accounted for through our finance and our economic development and parks team.
Okay,
Mhm.
and have you all determined how that is going to be spent? And if so, I can get that information from you at a later point, but I just wanted to know where you were on this.
Yes, ma'am. Through the chair, Commissioner Baker McCormick, we have $4.5 million that is being allocated to the Holiday Nature Preserve. We have $4.5 million that is being allocated to the Nankin Mills Campus Plan, including upgrades to the second and third floor of the Nankin Mills Interpretive Center. And we have $1 million that's being allocated to Vinoy Dorsey Park, which is in the Norwayne community of Westland, Wayne.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. So that 10 million has already been allocated.
Through the chair, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Commissioner
okay.
Scott, yes, it has been.
All
Mhm.
right, thank you.
Commissioner Baker McCormick again.
And just to that point, we weren't aware that, well, I know I wasn't, that it was already kind of divvied up. So, but that's what I really wanted to know,
how it was being spent, so.
Through the chair, it was approved and brought before commission, probably maybe over a year ago when we had to present, and economic development took the lead on that when we had to present all of our projects. And so it was determined on the cost breakdown. And I think that information had been provided to the commission previously, but it's okay when you ask me the question again for your clarity.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just don't recall receiving that information. In fact, I think I asked for it a couple times, and this is a more concise plan of action for that 10 million. So now I know definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you. And I'd just like to note that also came through CAPS too, economic development as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've discussed some of this in length. So
We did.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think you're the next, Commissioner Anderson, I'm sorry. Yep.
Thank you. Director Bradford, I just wanted to ask you, or actually to let you know, I'm sending you an email as you were speaking earlier, just about a couple of issues in Hines Park.
Okay.
If you could take a look at them and get back to me, I'd appreciate it.
Will do.
That's all.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Then we go- let's, Madam Clerk, next item.
Item number 3, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35107, certifying revenue in the county park fund.
So this is just an addition to item number 2. It is just requesting approval to certify that revenue of 12,800,444,000, which is related to the carry forward amount of all of those projects. It's a total of 60 plus projects that are included in that carry forward report. So this is approval for that funding again for us to be able to provide those reimbursements and continue the projects that we have contracts for underway.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item number 4, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35108, reallocating expenditures in the county road fund.
Are there any questions? Next item.
Item number 5, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35114, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Are any questions? Next item.
Item number 6, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35103, reallocating expenditures in the health insurance fund.
Are any questions? Next item.
Item number 7, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35067, reallocating expenditures in the juvenile justice abuse neglect fund.
Are any questions? Next item.
Item number 8, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35066, certifying revenue in the 2018 A Jail Center Construction Fund.
Are any questions? Yes, who's here to speak to this? I knew this was gonna be again. Yeah. Is the mic on? Yep, yep. Touch the button. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Carla Felton.
Yes. Oh, got no problem. Okay, so state your name and your position with the department.
Carla Felton, Division Administrator, MMB.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Commissioner Marecki.
Just could you?
Your mic.
Okay, can you give an overview of this item?
This is to fund the parking costs for the Bricktown parking garage for employees at Frank Murphy and the 2 county jails until they move to the new CJC.
Yep, and staff had gave me some clarity on that because we anticipated there would be some questions regarding that. Okay, any additional questions?
Where
Commissioner Marecki?
is the Bricktown parking garage?
It's on Fort Street and Wobian, right there on the corner
Okay.
across the street
Blue
from
Cross,
Nikki's.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's during the move then?
That's from January until July, and then we've accounted for trailing costs through September.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And let's see, thank you.
Mhm.
And next item, Madam Clerk.
Item number 9, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35087, certifying revenue in the 2018 A Jail Construction Fund.
Next item.
I just have a
Okay,
question.
yep. Okay, any questions?
So how is the shuttle working then? Is it just gonna keep going around?
It's working just the same, like it's taking the First Street shuttle is taking everyone from their jobs to the parking garage. It's doing the same.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Item 10, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35-115, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Any questions associated with this item? Okay, who can speak to this? Anyone here to speak to this? Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, I'm sorry. Benita Terry, Director of Administration for the Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon.
Yes, so is there a question on number 10 you said?
Yes.
Okay. So this budget adjustments for the reallocation of $38,797, it is going to fund our inmate wristbands that we're going to be using, that won't be so easily removed by the inmates. They will have a scanning device on them where it's easier for the officers to do the head
Okay, so
count.
item 10 is dealing with the firearms, training devices, I think ammunition, some other items.
Looking at the wrong paperwork here.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so for the firearms training, the magazines, there's cases, installers, I'm just giving pieces of what's all included on the equipment itself. Simulator kits, this device will be used at our training unit. And so yes, this is all for our training unit.
Okay, so, okay, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a simulator?
Yes, simulator
Okay.
kits, video scenarios, so it's all going to be used when with our jealous training coming on and just at our training unit altogether.
So this has nothing to do with the shooting ranges, right? We're not
No.
talking about that at
No,
all.
this is not the
So this
shooting
isn't
range.
ammunition. Okay, so I think that's
Ammunition is all of it.
forthcoming.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. So, any additional questions? Any additional questions? So, yes, Commissioner Baker McCormick.
And just to clarify for the training, where are they going for actual physical training now? I know there was some discussion some time ago.
For our jailers training unit is housed at Wayne County Community College in Taylor. That's where the training actually takes place, our 6-week training classes.
Okay, but as far as firearms,
With the ranges.
practice, yes. Mhm.
So we have 2 locations that we're using currently, since we do not have the Henry Ruff location up and running. We are at the Wayne County Airport Authority, Wayne County, their facility, and then we also are in Lincoln Park on 4th Street.
And what's that facility there, Lincoln Park?
Hold on, I'm having a brain freeze right now to get the name
That
of it.
313.
Yes, it's right on 4th Street, 313 range, thank you.
Okay, so that's a public?
It
or
is a
private?
public, it is public, however, it is, the sheriff's office can go in before, we have the opportunity to go in before any of the public is there.
So the public isn't involved with in that space while the
Thank you.
sheriff's is there.
Yes, the public, it doesn't open to the public till 10 a.m. So from basically 7 a.m. to 10, a lot of times that's when our officers come in and do their certified with their hours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions? Next item.
Item 11, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35-023, certifying revenue in the general fund.
Any questions? Yes, Benita?
Yes.
Okay.
So for the budget adjustment here, this is just going to hold us over here at our property at 4747 that we're leasing for the admin building until we move into CJC. And this will take us through a month by month through September of 2024 this year.
Right, right. But this doesn't have anything to do with the properties that we'll be paying rent to, right? But until the CJC is moved into.
I believe it's just for 400 Monroe, the, to
Okay.
400 Monroe for the property. We're here at 4747.
Okay,
I'm not sure about any other properties.
that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item,
Item 12, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-110, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
okay, are there any questions on this item? Next item,
Item 13, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-098, certifying revenue in the law enforcement fund.
are any questions? Next item,
Item 14, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-086, certifying revenue in the general fund.
are any questions on this item? Next item,
Item 15, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-130, reallocating expenditures in the probate court fund.
are there any questions? Next item,
Item 16, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-104, certifying revenue in the general fund.
are there any questions? Next item,
Item 17, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024-35-143, decertifying revenue in the general fund and in the county health fund.
okay, who can speak to this item, please? Who's here to speak to this item?
This is Kamal Keparu, Finance Director, Management and Budget for the Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
This right here, 29 million, the Department of Health, Veterans and Community Service, we received 29 million at the beginning of the year for the Well Wayne projects. But over the last couple of weeks, it was determined that we needed to create a fund to house all the post-ARPA funding. So this budget adjustment is just moving the money from the Health, Human Veteran Service Department to this fund, to Fund 499.
okay, so this fund was, we already previously created this fund, so you're not talking about creating another fund. When you mentioned it was decided in recent weeks to move it to the existing Fund 499, that's what you're saying?
Yes, 490, yes, correct. 499 was just created. And so we wanted to house it in that fund. Remember,
Okay,
this
so
was
my,
about a week ago. Remember that 179 that the commission talked about,
Yeah.
179 million?
yes,
Yeah, same thing. We just moving the 29 million to that fund. So all the operations of post-ARPA dollars will operate out of one fund instead of operating in the individual departments.
oh, okay, so let me just ask you this. So so it's not within any intended purpose. In other words, you're moving that money back over to 499, not with any immediate anticipation to move it out. In other words, you're not just moving it over then to turn around and move it out because you have some immediate uses for it.
No, correct. No, we're moving it
Okay.
to this one fund.
So in other
we
words,
can
it's
better
become
internal
making,
controls.
so in other words, it's enlarging the fund balance or the funds associated with Fund 499. Is that, I'll ask staff that. So I'm saying they're moving it into 499. What changes? What's the impact of that move?
Well, this for explanation to help Kamal out. If you guys remember, we did it was a budget adjustment that was late in the year, in the fiscal year. We did it in January, where they took all the ARPA dollars, revenue replacement ARPA dollars, and moved it out of the general fund ending fiscal year 23 into Fund 499 Special Fund Project.
Right.
So that was the 179 that we did at the end of, it was supposed to be the end of fiscal year 23. This budget adjustment, when we approved the budget back in September, there was 29 million originally of that revenue replacement fund that was coming from the general fund going over to Health and Human Services. So when we took the money out of the general fund, we had to reverse that transaction to pull that money back from the general fund because the funding source was going to come from Fund 499.
A different funding
When we
source.
put the money, when we did the budget adjustment to put that money ending fiscal year 23 of 179 million. So this is reversing that 29 million that was coming back from the general fund to put that 29 million back into the general fund's fund balance.
So it's just a net.
So this is a
Net-
net, this is netting that out to correct the budget when we approved that budget.
Okay, I got it.
That had 29 million from the general fund going to HHVS for all those projects that he wanted. One was we just approved one with the medical debt. So that was the funding there. So that's all this doing is just bringing that money back into the general fund that was sent out when we approved the budget, since that money was no longer situated in the general fund.
Okay. Any additional questions? Commissioner Baker McCormick?
So to clarify, in the new fund, what is the balance? Because we're doing all of this movement. So if we're removing or
So in the new
taking
fund,
29 million out of the fund that we just created to move it into Health and Human Services, is that what you're saying, basically?
well, this 29 was coming back from the general fund. So going on to number 18 is we're certifying that $179 million into Fund 499 for the new budget.
Okay.
But out of that one, so it takes it down to 150. And then there's another back out for the RISA contract. There's another back out for the Just Air contract. There's another back out for the Livonia project contract that was already approved. When we approved these items, the money was sitting in general fund, but they want to put it in a special fund, which everything is staying over there. So nothing is going to another fund. It's going to be still staying 499 for tracking purposes. But to answer your question, it's probably down to probably 30 or so million dollars that's have not already been allocated of that revenue replacement dollar.
That was reported to us when they came last time. Yeah.
Right. Well, when I say that's not been allocated, it's not has been commission approved allocated.
Correct. Yeah.
Let me
So-
rephrase that.
So I'm just saying, just make sure, yeah, so that was something that was already reported to us.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scott, thank you.
Thank you. This has nothing to do with this item.
Michael?
Okay. But there's veterans building in my district that's being built. And I was wondering if you know who is building that. I'm getting calls from the senior buildings that's right next to it, and they want to know. I've just wondered if you would know that. It's Otter Drive in Van Dyke.
Is that a question for me, Commissioner?
Okay, can't hear you, having problems hearing you? Yes, that question's for you. Yes, thank you.
Yes, no, I don't know anything about that
You don't know?
one, Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Thank
And you said what area?
It's in my district. It's Otter Drive and right off of Van Dyke.
Okay, but I'll talk
on-
to the Director of Veterans to see if he know anything about it and follow back up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any additional questions? Any additional questions? Madam Clerk, next item.
Moving to item 18, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2024 35-134, certifying revenue in the Special Capital Projects Fund.
Okay, let me ask who's here to speak to this item?
Good afternoon, Rob Whittigan, Chief Deputy Financial Officer, Wayne County.
Okay.
So this item, as Terrence just kind of mentioned, we did the last minute budget adjustment for the previous fiscal year to set up the 499 fund. all this is doing is, since that was done obviously after the 23-24 budget, is setting up the fund in this budget so we can actually use the fund. So, and then to Terrence's point also, all this expenditures that commission has approved will go in and out of that fund just for tracking purposes. If you ever ask, how much have we spent? We can pull it up and for auditing purposes and see all the ARPA SLRF dollars being spent in that fund. It's just setting the budget up. And so when you get the budget for 25, 26, this will already be set up.
So the reason why I called you up, because you see that $179 million. So just wanted you to just elaborate on actual, elaborate on that. So when folks see that number, they don't see it as $179 million being available.
Yeah, correct. So, as mentioned, anything commission approves, so I think it's down to about 38 million that commission has not approved or has not allocated projects for. So it's not 179 that we can go spend.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any additional questions? Any additional questions? Commissioner Clemente?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to put a fine point on this, there's no time frame on that money when it's in that 499, is that the right number? Fund,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
me-
Commissioner
I may-
Anderson?
Thank you. Just one last question. That figure that you gave us, did you say 135?
No, 35.
3.5.
35, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 35 does not include, I understand there's going to be a change to what was approved for the
Second.
job training
Yes.
thing. That's going to be $15 million coming back from that, I believe.
Simca, I believe.
Simca, yes.
Yeah, and I believe that will be coming to commission. I don't have all the details in front of it, but there will be a change to that agreement, correct?
So that will be added back into
Exactly.
this.
And so when that comes to commission, we'll bring you an updated number.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Any additional questions? Okay, next item.
Item number 19, discussion with the Management and Budget Department regarding revenue projections for fiscal year 2024-2025.
So this item here, we requested, I requested for it to be on the agenda because it basically centers around conversations that we had last year of being better prepared for preparing the budget, as well as keeping the commission up to date on what numbers that the administration will be starting with as it relates to what you're looking at this particular point for as far as expected revenue projections. So just, update on those projections and your thoughts that will carry over into the next item on the agenda.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to hand this over to Mr. McIntyre, who is our Deputy Budget Director and has prepared some numbers and a timeline for us to discuss with you.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, can you read into the record item 20, please?
Item 20, update from the Management and Budget Department regarding the budget preparation process scheduled for fiscal year 2024-2025 budget as it coincides with the Wayne County Charter.
So we're going to do 19 and 20. Let's have this discussion together. And so
I have a handout, if that's okay.
oh, absolutely.
And then I'll just add the caveat that these are obviously preliminary
Correct.
and subject to change between now and your on-time budget submission coming in June.
Oh.
So I do.
So this has
Yeah.
been provided to the clerk and so it could be part of the record as well.
I can email, probably okay. I can
Yes,
do that.
please. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'll text you.
Okay.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg McIntyre. I'm the Deputy Budget Director and Management and Budget. I'm here to present to you to discuss FY 25 and FY 26 revenue projections at a very high level. Before I get into the document that was just handed out to you, what we did in management and budget was a reasonableness test. So that's where we are. So we got revenues back from the departments and we compared those revenues to an average a 4-year average, and we compared it to what was returned in last year. And it gave us an opportunity to look for any outliers. It gave us a chance to address any of those outliers and also address the assumptions that came along with those revenue projections. Later in the month, the budget analysts will go out and meet with stakeholders in each department to try and shore up those numbers. So those numbers could move a little as they go out and have those final meetings with the stakeholders in each budget department. So we're still vetting these numbers. So now I want to get into the report you have before you. First, I want to read down the page and then we'll read across the page. So reading down the page, this document is in thousands. So reading down the page, at the top of the first section, these are just basically just tax revenue. And I've itemized some of these revenues for you, like property taxes, property transfer tax, state sales tax, state equity tax, Huntington liquor tax. And I've given you a subtotal.
So you meant it's in millions, right?
It's in millions.
Yes,
Sorry,
okay.
millions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I meant millions.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
The document, it is in millions. Okay, so again, reading down the page, the first set of numbers are just tax revenue, and I've given you a subtotal. The middle of the page, this is grant revenue, general fund grant revenue only, general fund grant revenue only. And I've broken it out between local, state, and federal revenue, grant revenue. And so the composite here consists of newer grants, expiring grants, and expended grants. And so just to give you an example of what a local grant would be, Enough Said. That's a local grant, and that grant is about $350,000. An example of what a state grant would be, the prosecutor's office for auto theft. That's one grant. That grant is about $700,000. And then there's a public safety grant that went to the sheriff's departments. That grant is about $2 million. An example of what a federal grant would be, that grant would be a post-conviction DNA testing. That grant is about $400,000. There's a Wayne County Prosecutor's Office felony non-support grant, almost $1 million. And then there's an Operation Relentless Pursuit grant, about $1.5 million. So that would make up a federal grant. So now near the bottom of the page, you have the charges for services. And at the very bottom, you see a grand total there. So now I'm going to read across the page. The second column would be the unaudited FY 2023. I'm going to call that column 1. Next column will be column 2, the amended FY 24 budget. And then column 3 will be the estimate FY 25 budget. So now I'm going to compare the FY 25 estimated revenue to FY 24. And then over in column 4, you get the difference. And next to that, the percent difference. Same exercise over in column 6, where you see FY 26 estimated revenue. So the source for this information was the J.D. Edwards reports. As I said before, the financial revenue projections that came back from the departments and the Senate Fiscal Agency. So certain numbers that stand out on this report, I'll go through real quick. Property tax revenue for FY 25, that number increased $4.3 million. In FY 26, it increased another $16 million. So there's some increases baked in there, 4%. Another number that sticks out is the property tax transfer number. There has been the Registry of Deeds has projected a 1.5 reduction in this tax due to economics and the housing market. So that supports that number. And then down under the federal grants, that number decreased by 2.9% in FY '25. And so we have some expiring grants that are going off the books to support that number. Are there any questions?
One question I have is, what's the time frame in which you determine that these are the not numbers, though it may be fluid, but at this point on this date, these are the numbers that we're going to utilize in, when drafting the budget. At what point, wherever you receive all the information from JD Edwards, the various departments, at what point of the year and when do you expect to begin, I guess, finalizing a budget for preparation to move forward to commission and meeting with the departments and all of that?
Right, I'll share with you when we get into another schedule.
Okay, so that's another part of the
Yeah,
conversation.
but I'll answer the question. So we are about April 16th. The budget analysts will be meeting with each stakeholder in the departments to shore up these numbers. So they could move a little this way, a little bit that way. But given the assumptions that came back, there were very few outliers, things that look unique to us. So we need to challenge. So I'm pretty confident that the numbers will not move one way or the other that much, that significantly. But that the meeting with the stakeholders, those meetings will start to take place around April the 16th.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just under the charges for services, would you give an example of what the charges for services are? And
Fees, fines, things of that nature.
have those numbers been looked at, or what we're charging right now? Has it been any adjustment? Because I know at one time I asked the question and there was a reluctance to dive into that because of the amount of work and manpower it would take, I guess.
Yeah, we've looked into those numbers and we're continuing to look into those numbers. One blurb would be during the pandemic period, they look a little different. So outside of that, if you take your almost 4-year average, they sort of come right back in line.
So are there going to be recommendations to change any of those?
To
Increase anything?
There could be. We're still vetting those numbers.
Okay. When do you expect we would have some idea of what your plans are with it?
Around April 16th, when we have those meetings with the stakeholders to go back in round 2 to shore up those numbers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, just like to ask, as you're, I guess compiling and reviewing that information, in the meantime, can you get to our fiscal staff? Can you get a list of all fees and associated schedules that the county may charge in throughout all of its various units?
Absolutely.
Any fees
Thank
that
you.
the county charge? Yeah. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Grants, in this area, we're losing grant dollars, right? It appears that from the numbers and decline. Do we have a department or individuals that focus solely on grants? Because I know I'm inundated with many grant opportunities that we could seek. So are we focused on that, and how does that look? What does that look like?
Yeah, we have a grants division within management and budget, and Shantika Bullard is the director there. But some of these attribute to, there's a lot of state and federal post-pandemic dollars that are just kind of starting to fall off. So there's been it's something that we're monitoring carefully, because I noticed, a few publications, the Journal or Bond Buyer have noted that state revenues are seeing a slight cliff coming up in coming fiscal years because of those federal dollars. And those federal dollars went, some went from the feds to the state to the communities or locals, and some went directly from feds to locals. So that's where you're going to see some drop off. But yes, we do have an individual that tracks, monitors, and reports on grants throughout Wayne County.
Okay,
Well,
and
individuals, not one person.
it is a individual, did you say, or
She
more?
has multiple
depart-
staff, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they are seeking new grant opportunities as well.
They're more on the reporting end, like
Okay.
they're the reporting and compliance, but they do work with departments as they're, looking to seek out new grants and.
Okay, so I guess to clarify, do we have anyone that specializes in just seeking out grant opportunities?
Every department.
Federal, state,
Yeah,
Every
and local?
department, every
Yes.
department has that regularly, Tony's here, because we know that the prosecutor is the
Right.
chief of those individuals.
Right.
But each department has, people inside of those departments, and this committee, we regularly, certify and all sorts of grants that come through, yeah.
Yeah, that would be correct, like your Tonys and Vanitas
Right,
and.
that, again,
Right.
I know.
Okay, I'm
we
gonna
seek-
recognize, the,
Yes, I
oh,
know. we
no,
seek
not
out-
recognize anyone.
Okay. I know we seek out grant opportunities,
Yes.
the reoccurring grants, things of that nature. What I'm looking for is someone that solely speaks
Yeah.
to diving in to seek out other outside grant
Right.
opportunities.
Yeah,
So
I wouldn't-
that's the question,
Right.
and I don't think we've answered it. Do we have someone or a team that dives into those areas?
So what I'm going to say is that if it's within grants available as relates to the commission, the commission, when you speak into the commission and having a mechanism to seek grants, I think, I would suggest reaching out to the chair and have conversations related to that. But from the administration standpoint, each department has someone that goes out and get grants that they qualify for at every level of government.
yeah.
Okay.
We don't have like
So-
a grant czar that
No,
oversees,
and-
that
and-
is one person looking for grants for Wayne County.
Okay. And
that answers your question.
each division or each elected, I guess, official in their own capacity, in their own, I guess, employees can focus on those areas.
And, in administration
And
of their
administration,
office
yeah.
and,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
and delegating of duties within their offices.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And again, if I can, maybe I can dig, dig into this after, but again, I see a lot of grant opportunities that I don't know if we're taking advantage of, and I like to see how those are being looked into. So, because I think we have some opportunities for more grant funding to come in. Thank you.
So through the chair, as
Madam Counsel.
indicated, each department focuses and is responsible for their own grants, but there's nothing that prevents a commissioner, if you see a grant opportunity that could be related to health, from contacting health and say, hey, this is out there, so that they can look into it. I think that you have that ability. So if it's not something specific to the commission, which most probably aren't, feel free to then contact the various departments so that they have an opportunity to, one, make sure they're aware of it, and two, they can look into it to determine if it's something they believe the county should pursue.
Right. And I do. And that's one of the reasons I asked the question, because I receive information and I forward to various departments that information, but it would be nice to know that we had someone that was really digging into those in each of those various departments, because we're losing a lot of grant dollars here, and that's something we should focus on.
Well, one thing I
Thank
can
you.
say, the prosecutor she's doing everything she can not to lose any. And so
Yes.
we get a lot of, so I'm just saying, if there's any grants that any of us, because I've sent information over and they've looked into it. So if there's anything that we come across, let's, forward it over to the appropriate staff persons.
Yeah, and I definitely hear the prosecutor talking about grants
And the
grant
sheriff and all
opportunities.
just a number of health and human
So-
services, parks. So we hear all the time. I mean, so
Great,
if we see
great.
something they don't see, let's just, continue. We're all one county. Yep. Yep. And, yes, you can continue. Yeah.
Going into 20?
Pardon me, pardon me. No, yeah, so flow into 20. So what we're doing both the discussions at once. I'm sorry, at the beginning, we,
Okay, you should have in your packet the budget, revised budget timeline.
Sorry, that's.
and you'll provide that to the clerk as well?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh. You may.
Okay, thank you. If I could draw your attention all the way down to step number 11. Step number 11. The goal is to deliver my budget on time from the CEO designate to the commission. So that's the goal, to have this budget in on time. So as you go back up to steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, those steps have already been completed. Hopefully tomorrow, 6 and 7. Well, 5 and 6 rather. Step 1 through 4 have already been completed, and hopefully steps 5 and 6 will be in process tomorrow. So this is the timeline that we're going by to keep us on track. And so far, we are on track to deliver an on-time budget to the commission.
So in regards to that, so at this time, so looking at this calendar, in which I'm very impressed, you all really came with your A game this morning, this afternoon. I'm going to consult with the chair, and because I'm sure she don't have this either. And so we're going to get with commissioners as relates to their budget priorities, so we can have those conversations earlier, sooner than later. So okay. So is there any additional questions from? Any additional questions? This is very good information. Terrence, what's your thought as relates to this timeline, and you have any comments?
If the CFO and the chief deputy CFO and the deputy budget director can pull off a June 5th submittal to the commission, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. So I want to thank you all for, you've been making a full-fledged effort. I can tell you this much. And when this committee's asked you to come before the committee to give us an update, you've been forthwith. And, and with this information, set a very aggressive goal. And so we're looking forward to receiving the information in accordance to this plan. Yep.
Thank you. We appreciate the conversation throughout the process, and hopefully by the time we adopt a budget, we will have a budget director and a deputy budget director full at the same time.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, are there any additional questions on these gentlemen? Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
Robin, just wondered if you could tell us, are we still employing outside contractors to help with this budget, or are you guys?
I know, right.
Probably
Look,
now?
It's more in-house. We have a new budget analyst. I think I mentioned that a while ago. I mean, he's been with us for about 6 months now, obviously deputy budget director. We do still keep Kevin Haney on contract if we have questions, just because Greg's new and some of our analysts are new and I'm new. But recently he hasn't been used too much. So it's primarily in-house. I think Raymond does help us prepare the budget book that goes to GFOA where we win the awards each year. But for the budget building is majority in-house.
And no other contractors other than Haney?
On budget, not that, I mean, I would classify Raymond. Raymond's there. I believe they've used him in the past. We haven't been using him for this budget, but I would say yes, that's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm just.
I just
Oh,
had
you
a-
go ahead.
To that point, for Haney, is that just hours, billable hours?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. So
as needed.
as needed.
Okay.
And I think last pay period, I approved like a couple hours. It's very, it's much reduced from when we started, I guess I'll say. Yeah.
Okay, one thing I'm going to note, Terrence didn't mention it, but I'm going to suggest immediately that you have a conversation with Terrence and his team. Step 11, that step 12 and onward, that's under the prerogative of the commission as far as our timeline. So definitely want to have you to consult with him, myself and the chair as it relates to those timelines.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love all the other. I love 11 back one 1 through 11. Yep. Thank you. And Greg, this was, doing a great job, and know you're new to the team, but just saying you've been a great addition to the team.
Thank you. To the chair, that was just a placeholder those days we picked out, just to fill up the calendar. So
Yes, okay, thank you. Yep. Okay, any additional questions? Any additional questions? Next item, Madam Clerk.
You want to take the vote?
Oh, yes, we got a vote,
We
yes.
have a motion by Commissioner Baker McCormick and support by Commissioner Scott to approve items 1 through 18 on the agenda.
Okay, at this time, you will vote on the screen. Okay, let's see.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Item F, such are the matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I know of none. Next item.
Item G, public comments.
I'd like to ask at this time if you will unmute everyone on Zoom and ask if there's any hands raised. Also, I'd like to ask anyone on Zoom or on telephone if you would like to address this committee at this time. You. And I'd like to ask, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the committee at this time? Anyone in the audience? Next item.